This week in U.S. immigration news, we are going to cover Cameroon designated for TPS, Abbott offers a deal to end traffic at the border, migrant advocates sue the U.S. government, TPS eligibility for Ukraine and Sudan, migrants self-reporting their whereabouts, Ukrainians detained at the border, Texas City prepares for flood of border crossers, Cubans, Nicaraguans and Colombians at the border. On Friday, the DHS announced its designation of Cameroon for temporary protected status, for 18 months. Secretary Alejandro N. Mayorkas announced that due to the continuous armed conflict in Cameroon, TPS will be available for those who cannot safely return due to the extreme violence by government forces and armed separatists and a rise in attacks led by Boko Haram. Individuals eligible for TPS must have lived in the U.S. continuously since April 14, 2022. This designation is based on both ongoing armed conflict and extraordinary and temporary conditions. The extreme violence and widespread destruction have led to economic instability, food insecurity, and several 100,000 Cameroonians displaced without access to hospitals, schools, and other services. Last week, Mexican truckers protested the new safety inspections in Texas and created a blockade that caused day-long delays. Texas Governor Greg Abbott responded by announcing he would end the inspections only at one point of entry, the bridge between Laredo and the Mexican city of Colombia, Nuevo Leon. Abbott chose this entry point only because the governor of that state had agreed to increase border security on the Mexican side. The Texas police will continue stopping trucks crossing the border for safety inspections. In a statement given Wednesday, the White House press secretary Jen Psaki referred to the safety inspections as unnecessary and redundant and said that, "The continuous flow of legitimate trade and travel and CBP's ability to do its job should not be obstructed." Immigrant advocates and legal groups are suing the U.S. government over the data collected from the controversial Alternative to Detention (ATD) surveillance program. Just Futures Law, Magente Support Committee and Community Justice Exchange sued U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, on Thursday requesting information about the data the agency is taking from migrants under the program. The groups originally requested this information over 8 months ago. There are over 200,000 migrants enrolled in ATD and the Biden administration is planning to continue expanding it. The Biden administration announced it is expanding TPS eligibility for Ukrainians living in the U.S., pushing the program's cutoff date by 6 weeks. In early March, DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas announced Ukrainians living in the U.S. as of March 1 would qualify for TPS, which also provides temporary work permits. On Monday, Mayorkas announced Ukrainians residing in the U.S. as of April 11, 2022 will be eligible for TPS if they meet other eligibility rules and pass background checks. The government estimates that about 59,000 Ukrainians could now apply for TPS after this announcement. To be eligible under the Sudan designation, individuals must have lived in the U.S. since March 1, 2022.
If you are new to our channel, welcome and please subscribe to stay in the loop. We offer free 15-minute consultations if your case is qualified, so we can point you in the right direction. Stay tuned for the secret code later in the show.
The Biden administration has a record number of 216,000 migrants enrolled in the ATD program. With a majority self-reporting their whereabouts through an app. The average length an individual is in ATD is about 439 days. ICE requires released individuals to self-report by calling or getting the SmartLink app, while other migrants must wear a GPS tracking device in the form of an ankle monitor. Some advocate groups have spoken out against the ATD program due to ICE collecting data of individuals freed from detention. Currently, Harlingen, Texas is reported to have the most migrants enrolled in the ATD program, with a total of 22,148 individuals. Over 5,000 Ukrainians were detained at the U.S. border in March. In February, there were just over 1,100 Ukrainian detainees at the border. Ukrainian refugees have been released into the U.S. through humanitarian parole. In March, the Biden administration announced it would accept 100,000 refugees fleeing the war in Ukraine. The administration explained the Ukrainian refugees would be admitted into the country through family-based visas, humanitarian parole, and the U.S. refugee program. The Russian invasion has created the largest refugee crisis in Europe since World War II. McAllen, Texas is preparing for an expected surge of migrants crossing the border when Title 42 is lifted on May 23. This city has historically been one of the busiest crossing points and is calling on Washington to financially support them for the expected migration surge. Mayor Javier Villalobos of McAllen, Texas and his staff have been in touch with the White House regarding plans to feed, transport, and shelter what could be thousands of migrants per day. The city has received about $30 million from the federal government over the past year, but Villalobos argues the city will need more than that to handle the future influx. There has been a record high in apprehensions in over 22 years during March along the U.S.-Mexico border. The arrivals in record numbers included migrants from Cuba, Nicaragua, Colombia, and Ukraine according to the Department of Homeland Security. In March, U.S. border officials processed 32,141 Cuban migrants over 16,000 Nicaraguans and 15,144 Colombians. The number of Ukrainian migrants also spiked in March to 3,274. The increase in migrants from countries other than Mexico and Central America's Northern Triangle will pose major operational and political problems for border officials.
Friends, show us some love and smash the like button. It doesn't cost you anything. If you have an immigration problem or need a second opinion because you cannot get a hold of your own lawyer, schedule a meeting with our team. Share information with our CARES team and they will help you get scheduled with our legal team. Now here's a secret code to unlock the free 15 minutes.